Thursday, May 29th, 2025. And we will start by having council call the attendance.
Sure, Madam Chairman. Ms. Willingham.
Present.
Reedy.
Here.
Alex. Here. Camisso.
Here.
Demalowitz.
Here.
Ray Joyce.
Here.
Lukakis.
Here.
Bergdorf.
Here.
And Griff.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Oh, very good. All right, we'll begin.
The first item is approving the previous meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Bowles. I got a second from, excuse me, Mr. Reedy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Items 2, 3, and 4 are tabled at request of sponsor. We're going to move to item 14 to start. Item 14 is authorizing an agreement with Hawkins, Dell, Gilden Wood regarding bond counsel services. The comptroller is here this evening.
Good evening, Ms. Rizzo.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Audit and Finance Committee. I'm Susan Rizzo, the Albany County Controller. I'm here with my executive deputies, Chip Dott, Fred Camisso Jr. Controller's Office is presenting for approval to enter into a contract with Hawkins for bond counsel. The term is for 3 years with 2 additional one-year options. At this time, I would just like to entertain any questions.
Do I have any questions from any of the members? Mr. Demolowitz.
Now, how many people applied for this RFP?
How many people? 5?
5? And the purchasing decided that this is the best one?
Right, so we do the, we rate them,
Yep.
and we get it to purchasing, and they agree.
And they say this is the best.
We did great.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bergdorf?
Who is your existing bond counsel?
Joe Scott with Hodgkins Ross.
Okay, so this is a change.
He did not, he elected not to renew his, exercise his renewal this year.
Oh, okay. So this is a 3-year term with 2 one-year extenders.
Correct.
How do, are the fees structured obviously by hourly rate, not to exceed, or how?
Now, the
Well, are there-
percentages on the bond amount.
Yeah,
They have an hourly fee if we ask them to do extra work. But when we do the bonding, it's on a percentage basis,
okay, so if it's $1 million bond, it's X over $1 million.
and they have a cap.
And the extra work, is that delineated in the contract, what consists of extra work?
Well, it's on an hourly basis. So when, lots of times the legislators ask bond counsel to do some work. Like, for example, we did the bonds previously, and we redid the bonds because we changed the policy to, because of the capital, the fund balance, and because of capital, that we could use general fund money. So we changed the resolution at that time.
Oh, okay, so I get it now.
Right, so, yeah.
So when they do a bond issue, it's a percentage of the principal, but any à la carte work, it's on an hourly basis.
Correct.
Okay. Is the hourly rate similar to what Mr. Scott was charging?
Less.
Less. Sounds like a good deal to me.
I like hearing that.
Good job.
Madam Chair, thanks. I know you're big on trying not to bond if you don't have to, using cash. Does that affect your relationship at all with the bonding council?
Well, I will say, some bidders say they won't charge for bond resolutions. But if we don't borrow, I think that it would be in our best interest to pay them something for the resolutions. So I think that's one of the reasons. But this year, I think we are going to bond. We haven't for 2 years. And I think this might be the first year, but we'll discuss that with management and budget and then present it to you all.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Was that in the RFP
Which part?
with the resolutions?
What?
The cost.
That right now they're not charging?
No, the bidder can decide. So all the other bidders do charge for resolutions.
I understand that.
Joe Scott did not charge for resolutions. Since we hadn't bond for 2 years, he wasn't making any income.
But they did charge for resolutions that they didn't get paid for because there was no bonding.
No, you
They did
still-
resolutions for us.
You don't, okay, but.
I mean, I'm not gonna debate it.
No, no,
you know.
his contract
I'm just saying, I
said-
just wanna make sure we get a better deal.
No, what I'm saying is, his contract said he doesn't get paid for resolutions. He did resolutions.
Right.
Just so you know, Hawkins has the same deal.
So the contract, with this contract, what does that say?
We
They
don't
getting
pay-
paid, or is that extra work?
They don't get paid for resolutions.
They don't get paid for resolutions.
Right.
And you're looking to pay them for resolutions.
No, my concern is if we don't borrow, so if you don't borrow, they make no money.
Right.
So they're doing work and making no money.
Right,
So the thought process is if you do the resolutions, it's in the bond pricing because it's on a percentage basis. So they technically some bidders would do the bonding for free.
right.
My
right.
concern is if we don't borrow, they're doing resolutions, and I don't know, but that could have been one of the reasons why Joe Scott didn't up his
Right.
contract. It's a
So what would be
concern.
the rate?
There's an hourly rate in the contract.
So it'll be the, okay. I agree with you, I think you should pay them if they're doing it.
That's-
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Just no other questions, I entertain a motion. Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Reedy, got a second from Mr. Mullins, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 15 is authorizing an agreement with the Affordable Housing Partnership regarding the establishment of a home buyer navigator program for Albany County. Pat Curran from the Executive's Office here this evening.
Good evening, members. So this request is to seek authorization to award RFP 2025-008 to the Affordable Housing Partnership for establishment of a home buyer navigator program. So this program will establish and fund a full-time equivalent position with the Affordable Housing Partnership for the purposes of decreasing common barriers to low and moderate income first-time home buyers. They will assist in things such as securing funding, navigating the process of purchasing a home, provide insight and counsel through the home renovation process. They were the only respondent to the RFP, and it is a one-year pilot program that could extend to a 3-year program.
Okay. Yes,
How much money is behind the program? Not counting what we're paying for now in terms of staff versus.
So the entirety of the funding is laid out in the RLA. It's $80,000 per year. It's coming out of the County Innovation Fund.
Yep.
So it's $80,000 per year, and that would be a total of $240 if it were to be extended 3 years.
Okay, but that's just for the personnel costs for the person to
Yep,
assist.
and that's the only funding
But
that's.
for the organization that they're going to be working with, where do they get their source of funding for, to assist first-time or low-income?
Yeah, so the Affordable Housing Partnership, they've been doing this since 1989. They, look for a lot of grant funding and, federal funding, things of that nature. So, given that they have a pretty established reputation in the area doing this work, we felt pretty comfortable, given that they were the only respondent to the bid.
But they don't have any grants with us currently?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
are there any other questions?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. How are we gonna track how well this pilot project, because,
Sure, yeah.
this is another example of more government spending. Now, it's an important issue, housing. The question is, we're gonna put more people in houses, or I wonder what data are you gonna collect to show that this is worth the money?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're going to be, checking in on a regular basis with the Affordable Housing Partnership in terms of, actual timetables and, tangible goals in terms of how many people are getting into houses, the actual number of individuals that they're helping. So I think it has been in discussions in terms of the exact, tangible goals. So we're going to be constant monitoring and making sure that, this is a successful first year program that we can then be confident in extending for 2 years.
And is the goal basically to get people in homes?
Mhm.
So it seems to be, that would be one of the
Yeah.
main goals, how many people have been moved into a home?
Yeah, so I'd have to double check exactly what we put, and I can get that information for you as in terms of, tangible goals, but, we're going to be regularly checking in with them in terms of making sure that the work is getting done and meeting those goals that are set.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Mr.
If
Cactus?
there's no further questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Cactus, I got a second second from Ms. Alice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 16 is amending the 2025 Department of Parks and Recreation budget for administrative adjustments. Commissioner Bakari Jana is here this evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, distinguished members, appreciate it. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to see me again, and I look forward to many future opportunities as we grow for Parks and Recreation. Currently, we're requesting authorization to enter into an RLA that will increase the size of our staffing, as well as is also providing some personal modifications to the budget line. I'm excited about this RLA specifically because this ties into our equity agenda that I worked on previously in my past positions. This is something that's helping us realize the ability to have our department match the population that we serve and the constituents that we serve, allowing them to see individuals who look like them, and also allowing us to hire employees who are currently on staff either part-time or in different positions, increasing their not only their wages, but giving them access to health care and other benefits, as well as attracting new clientele and attracting new employees who can actually reach the populations that we are trying to serve. This has definitely been in a partnership with the DMB, with the analysts from the CEO, working on ways to how to expand our program as we acquire new facilities. This will allow us to provide more programming, meet the needs and the demands that we have, and also I take this time to open it up to any member here to partner as we grow, to share your ideas, and also to allow us to incorporate them as we grow slowly but surely into a way that we can provide more services to countywide. Any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, you're talking about expanding government, it looks like to me. How many full-time and part-time is envisioned here?
These are all full-time positions, so there are 4 new positions for full-time.
That's, how many do you have now?
Currently not full-time positions.
Yeah.
Currently right now we have 8.
Okay, so you're talking about a 50% increase in full-timers.
Chris,
That's pretty substantial. How do you defend that?
I would defend it by the increase in size of amount of square footage that we are now maintaining, the populations that we are able to increase to reach, and the demand that is growing that we need for this one.
By square footage growing?
I mean, the buildings that we've recently acquired, so we've acquired Cohoes, we've acquired St. Rose, as you know. I believe also we are taking over Switzerland. The upper camp is also becoming under our purview, which we need to make sure we maintain. And some of our programming that we're doing, especially driving and meeting other participants in our sporting programs and our also any non-sporting programs that we provide, is growing. So this will allow us to actually meet those demands and provide those services to your constituents.
So you have a plan to do something with St. Rose from a recreation standpoint?
From a recreation point of view, yes.
And what might that be? Or is that-
Right now, we are looking at increasing lifeguards throughout the county through training that's sponsored by the Red Cross. Looking at to try and take over the basketball area that we have for programming there, reading programs, and anything that we can work with the community. St. Rose is in such a great location and in an area that has not been well served over the years.
So you're planning on using their pool?
We're planning to use anything and every resource that they have.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions?
Yes, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Northcutt? Yeah, Mr. Bergdorf?
Bach,
Yes.
I know you well. I genuinely support an increased role for Parks and Rec, and I'm glad that you're adding staff.
Thank you.
There was something you said that sort of troubled me. You're talking about 4 positions, and you said it's focused on DEI. Well, that's what you said in your opening statement. Hiring people that look like people, et cetera. I just want to know, are these civil service positions or are they appointed?
We are working closely with civil service, and they were involved within the hiring positions. And I just wanted to frame back, never mentioned DEI this one.
Well, when you say equity, it's based on the equity agenda that you had been involved with, and
that we've all been involved with.
Well, I understand. I guess what I'm concerned about is, I don't know if these positions are competitive, and you choose from a top 3, people who take a test, whether they're qualifications based. But I would just like to know that people are going to be chosen based on merit.
Indeed, they are.
And that's what I wanted to hear you say.
Oh,
Because
indeed.
I was a little concerned
Yeah.
when you gave your intro that there were some preconceived notions on who should be hired for reasons of equity.
No, the only reason where we take, I'm sorry to belabor this point, but I do think it's important, is the only reason why we look at to try and reflect the community is no position that comes into my department is based upon, is not reserved for a certain status, a certain classification.
Right.
The only thing it has is that you have only thing I ask that you have a passion to help the individuals
Right.
and to grow. And as we grow, we widen our net to recruit more, to recruit the best that we can recruit, regardless of what they look like, where they happen to live, or what zip code they have, as long as they can apply that. And it doesn't have to be based on skin color, ethnicity, or based on background and resources that they have, or experiences that they went through.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
I want to thank you very much for your response to Mr. Bergdorf. As we all know, yes, we do have an equity policy as far as the term DEI and who it relates to, as far as what has come across from the federal level. Here in Albany County, we do expect that we do follow an equitable policy to hire everyone, including people of color. Okay? So not only that, I know that you're trying to serve a community many times that is affected by, people in specific neighborhoods. So I thank you for your explanation of that. And I am not disturbed by the issue that you talked about in regards to those people. Thank you. Right. Yes,
Motion
Mr.
moved.
Mullins. I got a motion from Mr. Mullins. I got a second from Ms. Alex. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very good. Appreciate
Item
anybody.
17 is authorizing cancellation of a certain unenforceable delinquent real property tax lien on properties owned by the Albany County Land Bank within the county and charge back of the amount credited in connection with said lien. Commissioner Mike McGuire is here this evening.
Madam Chair, members of the Audit and Finance Committee, good evening. Happy Thursday. I have 4 items. They're all requests for declaring unenforceable taxes. So in each case, these are all tax bills that are beyond the statute of limitations for corrections of errors. So that's why I'm here at the resolution for each of these 4 individual items. In this case, this is a request for action for 5 properties owned by the Albany County Land Bank. The Land Bank contacted us, asked us to review any possible delinquencies for all the properties that they own. And we identified 5 properties that have delinquencies totaling $2,966.80 that are all over that 3-year statute of limitations. So I'm here requesting legislative action to declare those taxes as unenforceable. Those are all tax exempt properties under the Non-for-Profit Corporations Law, Section 1608A.
Mr. Chair.
I have a question.
Mr. Bowers.
With respect to the land bank.
Sure.
When that new state law takes effect where the land bank can no longer profit, when is that going to affect?
I'm not too sure which law you're referring to.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not sure which law you're referring to.
Well, the law that says if you foreclose on a property for $100
The
and you sell it for $300.
surplus funds for tax foreclosed properties.
Yeah.
So that is currently in effect, right? That was a result of the Tyler versus Huntington County Supreme Court decision. It does change the process of the foreclosures, and what will happen based upon the approved disposition plan, the county will be looking to auction off properties through the auction process. The land bank would be able to bid at those auctions if they wanted to on those properties. Anybody can bid at those
So we're going
properties.
back to auctioning?
But based upon the approved disposition plan that the legislature approved, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, that's in the
Right.
hierarchy of
Yeah.
activities, yes, that is approved. But in the case of the land bank, if properties are listed for 2 auctions in a row and they are not sold, nobody bids on them, at that point, then the state law allows the county, the foreclosing government entity, to actually transfer the properties to the land bank at that point in time, at no cost. I think the assumption under law, I'm not a lawyer, but pretend to be one, and Brandon can tell me if I'm wrong, is that at that point, if it goes through 2 auctions, then it's deem that there's no
Well,
value there.
my concern is the funding of the land bank, because that's how they're,
I
they
can't
can
really,
fund a
I
lot.
can't really speak to that because I'm not, that's not really within my
Oh,
wheelhouse.
right, no, but it's gonna have a
so
major effect on it.
I would say that there might be some current concerns within the land bank of funding sources.
So the county's gonna get back into auctioning property?
Ms.
Per the
McGuire.
disposition
Ms.
plan,
McGuire.
yes. Yep.
I'm gonna let council move on this.
Yeah, Gary, as Mr. McGuire indicated, this is going to change things substantially for the Albany County Land Bank. And in conversations with their director, Sean McGuire, he is cognizant of this and is looking to see what can be done to make sure that the processes that they have in place currently aren't changed too much by this, that they can still get properties. And as Mr. McGuire indicated, if after 2 county auctions, they could still potentially get the property transferred over. So there are options available. It's just, it is going to change things significantly from the land bank perspective. But yes, we are going back to the county auction.
But we don't
Way
have
of
the
doing
people there
business.
anymore. Didn't we dissolve all that when we created the land bank?
We had to.
Real property services, do we still
We
have
had
that?
to recreate it. We redid the disposition plan, I think, 2 months ago, and it was in that we went back to the auction due to the Supreme Court decision, as Mr. McGuire indicated. It's all, unfortunately, the Supreme Court made this decision, the United States Supreme Court, and then New York changed its law to comply with that, and now it's just repercussions after that. So everyone's doing the best they can to comply with that, while at the same time not disrupt the land bank activities too much. But yes, you are right, there will be disruption. Do you happen to know the effective date of the law? I don't recall.
The state law?
Yeah.
That's already in effect.
Yeah,
So
I
that
don't
was,
remember when.
That was in 2024. I want to say it was 2024 laws, right? That it went into effect, and then the disposition plan was rewritten in response to that, and then it was
And that was done
adopted.
about 2 months ago.
So next year's budget is gonna have to reflect that in the land bank, whatever funding they're gonna need.
We will see how it plays out,
Up
yes.
top, yeah, let's see. That's too bad, because the land bank, in my opinion, works pretty good. Thank you,
Okay,
Patrick.
very well. Any other questions? No, I'll entertain a motion. I got a motion from Mr. Reedy, I got a second from Mr. Salix, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 18 is authorizing cancellation of a certain unenforceable delinquent real property tax lien on 360 Whitehall Road in the city of Albany and chargeback of the amount credited in connection with said lien. Commissioner?
360 Whitehall Road is owned by 360 Whitehall Associates LLP. It's a partnership that's organized under the Private Housing Finance Law, Section 103. This property was subject to a pilot agreement in 2018. Due to a clerical error within the assessor's office, the city of Albany, the exemption that was applied for that property was removed, and a 2018 school tax bill was issued for this property. So this property received a pilot bill for 2018 and a school tax bill. The school tax bill went unpaid. It has come over to us for collection. The pilot bill was paid. There was a copy of the payment in the backup there. So what we're looking to do is declare that 2018 tax for the school tax bill is unenforceable, as they were, in essence, double billed for that property. They had the pilot payment and then there's a tax bill.
Okay, since I have no questions, I'm gonna entertain a motion. I got a motion from Mrs. Ellis, I got a second from Mr. Reedy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 19 is authorizing cancellation of a certain unenforceable delinquent real property tax liens on properties owned by the United States located within the county and chargeback of the amounts credited in connection with said liens.
Madam Chair, is it a problem if I discuss 19 and 20 together? They're similar in nature, it's just a different slight, or I can handle them separately. I'm just gonna repeat myself. That's okay, thank you. Properties of the United States government and also New York State are exempt from real property taxes, right? So there was a review that we looked at all of the delinquent taxes for properties that were owned by the United States government and also properties owned by New York State within the county. In the case of the United States, we identified delinquencies of $12,692.24 on properties that were owned, and these are properties owned throughout the county. Given the location of these properties, they fall mainly in Colony and in Albany. We have no statutory authority to enforce these taxes through the tax foreclosure process. They're granted an exemption under real property tax law, section 404. The same holds true for properties owned by New York State. It's a different section of real property tax law. In this case, it's section 404. These properties are also throughout the county, and the total amount that was identified was $209,237.20. And these were delinquencies that are going back as far as 1995 that are still on our books that will never be collected. So this is an effort to remove these delinquencies that we cannot enforce and then clean up that process. So that's 19 is the United States properties, 20 is the New York State properties.
Oh, okay. He said that. You just said. Very, very good. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right, so any questions on 19? Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Joyce, I got a second from Mr. Jamal, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 20 is authorizing cancellation of a certain unenforceable political real property tax liens on properties owned by the state of New York located within the county and charged back up the amounts credited in connection with said liens, which he just discussed.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Wait.
I got a question.
Wait. Mr. Bergeron.
Yes, Mike, I understand the stuff owned by the state. Do you ever run into an instance where the state or one of its public benefit corporations owns a piece of property and there's a pilot entered into, and does the pilot ever become delinquent? Is that, because I could think of a bunch of.
There's some properties in the city of Albany that have an optional pilot with New York State.
Okay.
And some of those are, they're written into law, most of those, and they usually have a term that those are run through. I haven't seen where they have been unpaid.
Okay.
And most of those pilots, those payments go into the city of Albany first, and then the city of Albany would then send us
Okay,
our
well, that's
portion
what I
of the
was
payment.
just, there are certain circumstances where a state-owned property would actually pay real property taxes to the county, the
We do have some
city.
state-owned land as well that's
Yeah.
in the rural areas that does pay taxes, and the state, when they have property that is taxable and they have to pay taxes on it, they will definitely send that check. But if you try to collect anything from them that they don't believe they owe, it's not gonna happen.
We're the same way.
And here we are, so.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
All right, I got a motion for Lisa Cactus. I got a second from Mr. Malowitz, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Thank you all, have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
We're going to skip now to item 29. I believe this is Mr. Riley, authorizing the distribution of mortgage taxes for the period October 1, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. It was an add-on.
I don't have 29.
It was an add-on to the agenda. It's on Granicus.
I'll share it with you if you want.
Madam Chair, committee members, thank you for reviewing this. This is the normal semi-annual distribution of the mortgage tax. They come over from the clerk's office, they get spread out. The spreadsheet, I believe it's on page 3 here, shows the breakout of what we retain, what goes to various entities, and what goes back to the municipalities.
Motion to move it.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Malowitz, I got a second from Ms. Awix, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you
Unanimous.
very much.
Now we're going to go back to item 5, which is adopting the Albany County Capital Program for 2026 to 2030.
Again, I will be handling this one. So, was in front of you guys, I guess, last meeting, since had the public hearing. There have been no changes to the plan since then. As I like to reiterate, it's also in the county exec's cover letter here, that this basically does not commit the county to any particular project. This is the 5-year plan. Large projects, if they're envisioned, need to be included in the plan, as you first know about them. But it does not commit you to them. There are many things that we've put into these plans that do not come to fruition in the long run. This is simply the first step of that journey. Anything along these lines that we have to do will obviously require many additional authorizations by this board.
Is the St. Rose vision in his capital plan? Of what you're gonna do with those buildings?
No,
No. How come?
because the Albany County Pine Hills Land Authority owns those buildings, not the county, so I cannot use capital fund dollars for those.
Yeah, but we're looking to buy some of those buildings. That should be in the capital plan.
So as of right now, we don't have a concrete plan of, I can't say I'm gonna buy this building or that building, at the level
Yeah.
we're at the discussion of, so. It's premature.
Oh, because I thought the county executive, when he was here, said that he was looking at these 3 or 4 buildings and, you know, I'm just saying, I mean, the capital plan itself is just a wish list anyway,
Yeah, look.
you know, so.
The tour yesterday, they said it was a temporary home for the county.
Temporary, yeah.
Make a motion to move.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce. I got a
What's
second
this?
from Mr. Demoto.
Same road.
I might have missed something.
Aye.
28 acres.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, where are you going?
We're gonna talk about the grouped items, the bond resolution.
Okay, so we are going to group 6 through 9 and 21 through 28.
We need a motion to group.
And we,
We'll do that. I'll second, she motioned, I second.
I thought I saw a finger down there, I just wanted to make sure it was a good one. All right. Did you understand, Mr. Hunter? Oh, okay, all right.
In committee.
Yeah, in committee, we can group.
Not on the
Okay,
floor.
good, there's a question. All right, so I got a motion from Mr. Kakis and a second from Ms. Alix to group. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Now,
I just have a question.
before we start,
Well, yeah, because we have all these bond resolutions, we don't have counsel to, who wrote them?
Nobody did, that's why they're being tabled.
Oh, so these are all gonna be tabled?
Yep,
yeah, but we had to do this first.
Thank you.
that's why Mr. Riley is here to tell us that they're going to be tabled, or
See, that's why I sit up here so I can hear. When I get down there, then it's.
It all comes big.
Okay.
So as alluded to here, the issues with, bond counsel being retained, has kind of held this up. I have discussed it with the departments. No departments are in urgent need right now for cash on hand to enter into contracts or to pay vendors. So they've agreed that the best course of action is to follow, the comptroller's request, get her counsel on board after approved by your body. Then once that is done, they'll kind of fast track things. They're already, having conversations about, here you can start working on this in anticipation of the adoption. So if we could just table these and then pass them through after we have bond counsel, that would be ideal.
Motion.
Okay, so I got a motion table? Second. I got a motion from Mr. Cactus, I got a second from Mr. Beatty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, so now,
All right, now we are moving on to item 10, which is a public hearing and proposed local law number C for 2025, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 270 of the Albany County Code regarding creating a real property tax exemption for construction of accessory dwelling units on existing residential parcels. Ms. Willingham has been designated prime sponsor.
okay, so. Okay. All right, so now, this, as we all know, this local law will allow for homeowners to receive a property tax exemption for the increased value of their home caused by the construction of the accessory dwelling unit upon their property. So in place of Chairwoman Cunningham, we're gonna have Chair's Counsel DeVos will speak briefly on this local law and answer any questions that you have.
Madam Chairwoman, I believe I can't do much better than the chairwoman did at the law committee yesterday, talking about the accessory dwelling units and the tax exemption that we're going to be providing to Albany County residents here. This is completely in concurrence with state real property tax law, real property law, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, Mr. Commisso.
Let's say there's 10 houses on this block, and 3 of them get the accessory dwelling units. What happens to the rest of the block when the tax rolls open the next year to those other properties that didn't put accessory dwelling units? Because now the value of the homes have just went up. And the accessory dwelling unit adds to it. In other words, if it costs $150,000 to do an accessory dwelling unit, there's gonna be an additional $150,000 full value for 3 of the homes on the block, which triggers another situation that the assessment for that area, for comparisons, are different.
Ms. Alex?
I can answer that. So you're right, the ones with the accessory dwelling units, most likely their assessments will increase. However, nothing will happen to the assessed value of the ones that did not do the accessory use. However, unless there is a revaluation, because you can't change the assessment on the others that didn't have any improvements unless there's a revaluation. But when you get into the revaluation portion, you really have to compare, in most cases, like properties to like properties. So those properties that went untouched should remain or be comparable to the other untouched properties. And the accessory use ones should be compared to the other accessory use. Now, if one that is untouched has the same square footage of one that now has an accessory use, yes, certainly there could be some comparisons there. But you want to most likely compare like properties to like properties. So although there could be an effect, it would have to be a drastic change, I think, to be able to compare those with accessory use apartments to those without.
Motion to move the public hearing, are we gonna do that?
Okay, Mr. Bergdorf.
Madam Chair, thank you. Tom, what is the maximum value of the exemption in terms of percentage of the county tax?
$200,000?
Yeah.
Is the exemption?
Up to $200,000 in market value.
Yeah, of the market value assessed, yeah.
So if you put an accessory unit on your house for $200,000, you don't pay any tax? Increased tax?
You will have an exemption for a period of time, sir. It is not.
And how long is that period?
I believe 5 years is the current agreement. It's 5 years on the agreement. So,
So it's an incentive.
yeah, it's a,
Ms. Alex?
It's $200,000 in market value, that not necessarily means your assessed value will go up $200,000. Your $200,000 in market value has to be applied to your equalization rate. So depending on what municipality you're in, so if you're in Green Island, for example, we're at 60%, so your assessed value would only go up 60% of that $200,000. Whereas, you know, some of the suburbans are at 100%, so it could potentially
Colony could
affect.
be in the 60s or 70s.
It would have to, that's the way I read it, it's $200,000 in market value, but your assessed value may not necessarily mean an increase of 200,000.
So, but how do you calculate it if, obviously you have a building permit, and I file a building permit that says I'm putting a $200,000 addition on my house in Green Island? What is my exemption going to be?
So I would have to equalize that at 66%, which is our equalization rate. So 66% of 200,000. Potentially, it doesn't mean, it's not dollar for dollar when you're doing assessments. I would have to look at other properties in the village that have accessory use properties and compare them. I don't necessarily gonna be able to put the whole 200,000 on there.
Yeah, my question is, you're increasing the assessed value of the accessory units. They're not being taxed on, but you're increasing the assessed value. And collectively, the municipality as a whole has a certain assessed value. Is there anything about this that will lead to higher taxes on the people that don't have accessories?
Well, your levy remains the same, so it's the shift, the tax burden shift is what you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if the whole thing is exempt, it'll be null and void, basically. If their assessment goes up, they're gonna take a little more piece of the pie, per se. Their assessment certainly won't go down. So there's the potential of that, but it wouldn't be, the levy remains the levy. Your portion of that levy could change.
If you build.
And to be clear, this is only on the county portion of
Right.
your taxes, so not your municipal taxes.
But they can, excuse me, the other municipalities can pass this along
Yep, they can
too.
pass, it.
In fact,
It's a
they're doing
state
it.
opt-in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now, the
wait,
200,000.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to you, I'm going to him, and Mr. Commissioner's next.
Question. If, has the municipality already passed this, such as the city of Albany? Not this, but the ADUs.
What about it?
Has it been passed by the city of Albany Common Council?
I have no idea.
I don't
It's,
think
it's,
so.
Are we getting in front of ourselves here?
no, because this ADUs are defined by state law and state building code. They are at play in various municipalities throughout the county. So I believe Albany is one of the only municipalities who does not currently provide for it. So,
Do they all read the same, each municipality?
no, they all read differently.
They all read different,
Mhm.
so,
That was my question, is the 200,000 determined by state statute? Or could we say, we'll give a $100,000 assessment, that would be the cap?
I believe you have to opt into it as
Yep.
approved by the state, so it would be the 200 or nothing.
So every municipality
We'll have to do the 200.
will have to do the 200,000.
Yep.
There's no discretion for the county or the town or the city.
Mhm. Yep, it's a straight opt-in.
Are the school districts able to opt into this also?
I believe
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the bulk of my taxes. County tax is nothing.
Yep.
If I did this, I'm gonna save $20. But the school tax is very important.
Could I make a request that, I'm gonna vote for this, but I happened to be talking to a common councilman yesterday who asked where we were on this, and I said we were about to put out a public hearing.
When you talk about council, just give me the municipality, please.
City of Albany.
Okay.
And that council, or I guess council person is the right term, told me that they were looking to have more square footage than, it sounded like there is a conflict in the law that the city is considering over how many square foot of an accessory unit would be, and that there would be some I shouldn't say conflict, they were hoping there would be some uniformity with the county and the city. So it just struck me that there are some discretionary items in this law, or what the person said to me yesterday was not true, or I shouldn't say not true. There may be some gray area here, so I'd like.
There are no discretionary items in the law, it's opt-in or don't. But what there is discretionary is each municipality's definition of what constitutes an ADU. An ADU is defined by state law as to what it is.
Generic.
But, yes, generically. But in terms of sizing and all of that will depend on the underlying municipality. So Colony is going to have, I know they have very strict rules about, like when it's no longer used by an immediate family member. ADUs are only allowed to be used by family members and that sort of thing. So I know Albany's considering something different. So it all depends on where you live, what will essentially constitute an ADU.
So are we yielding to the definition of, if we do this as a county, are we yielding to the definition of ADU in the underlying municipality, or are we using a square footage of our own in the county?
No, we would not be creating our own square footage. We can only opt into what the state provided, and the state does not provide for that.
Okay, but, all right.
So, okay, just so we're clear, the definition of the ADU, the state has defined it.
Yes.
To an extent, and then when a municipality,
But restrictions on
they,
it
they,
are done.
they have some discretion on
Municipality by
how they
municipality.
define an ADU.
Yeah.
But a definition of ADU is not something that has anything to do with what we're passing.
No, absolutely not, and
So it's like immaterial.
but restrictions are set by local zoning, as Ms. Alex said, so it all will vary
Right, we all look to
wildly
this
depending on
in
where
each
you
town,
Mhm.
either changes, maintains, or creates an ADU law on their, okay.
Affects their own, which was only gonna affect their own slice, their own
Yep.
relative slice of the pie.
Yes.
Okay. Another question? I got a motion from Mr. Demola.
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Ricci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Does not affect.
Unanimous?
Item 11 is tabled pending public hearing. Item 12 is a public hearing on proposed local law number D for 2025, local law number D, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, authorizing appropriation of funds to the Albany Convention Center Authority, and Ms. Willingham has been designated prime sponsor.
All right, so this local law declares the county's undertaking of the convention facility projects in conjunction with the County Convention Center Authority. It's governmental and public purpose of the County of Albany, New York. So right now, I'm going to have Mr. Debo speak on that, Chair's Council. If there's any questions or comments?
Okay, so briefly, this is the public hearing on the local law to declare that the convention center undertakings are a public purpose. That is essentially all the local law does. The underlying actual agreements and the details of those are going to be done in separate resolutions that the legislature will have plenty of opportunity to take a look at, as well as all of the particulars of the agreements as they come forward. As a primary thrust, there are going to be two resolutions. The first one will be a replenishment reserve fund agreement, which essentially establishes the county's willingness to enter into an agreement in which, in the event that the convention center, while it's doing its expansion, has to tap into its reserve fund, we would make that reserve fund whole, and then as the hotel taxes come in for the next quarter, would take that back from the convention center authority. So that's the first prong. The second prong is what we call the administrative fee services agreement. What this is what we're going to get out of this. Hopefully the Albany County Convention Authority is a wild success. If it is a wild success, we are going to get a portion of that success coming back to us. This is kind of a way in which we can get access to a little bit more of that hot tax revenue as a intermunicipal agreement, as opposed to the attempts that we've tried to have of going to the state and trying to get the formula changed. I know nobody likes the formula, but it's unlikely to change. It's been 20 years and it's not going anywhere.
Mr. Burke.
Tom, so let's have a hypothetical. Last year, the convention center took in $10 million before we enter into this agreement. After we enter into this agreement, they take in $11 million in hotel tax generated. How do you determine the delta of when you talk about the convention center being a success? Because a lot of the revenue from the hotel tax will come from the hotels and not the convention center. And you can't definitively say that the increase in the hotel tax came from events at the convention center. So how do you determine the delta of what is wildly successful?
It is, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No.
The answer to the question is that it's confined to what the convention center authority makes. It's not what the hotel occupancy tax.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No.
So it's, if the convention center made, I'm gonna do it as an example, like the MVP. if they made $4 million, not including debt service, and next year they make $5 million, not including debt service, the incremental delta is $1 million.
The incremental delta is $1 million. When we're looking at what will take place before that, and what will have taken place before the expansion takes place, before the expansion has been engaged.
Right.
That's going to, like.
That's going to set the base.
Mhm.
Okay.
And to be clear, the only thing that's being considered tonight is the public
Right,
hearing.
right,
which
I'm
will-
just trying to,
Yep, and I believe
understand
your
how it-
council and
Yeah.
everyone got, or well, your council and Pat
Yeah.
got a copy of the administrative agreement and the financing agreement as well.
thank you.
Mr. Malowitz.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. What the whole purpose of this is to expand the convention center to bring in bigger conventions, bigger events that they're not capable of doing now. So, I mean, it's the next best step. If you all remember originally how much bigger this convention center was supposed to be, and going after those bigger events to come into Albany. And the size of this facility doesn't meet those requirements. So with the addition going on, it's going to bring in all these new conventions and hopefully be very profitable for everyone in Albany County. And I'm looking forward to that. And right now, you're right. Right now, it loses $2.5 million last year, the convention center. Hopefully, they'll overcome all that. They make the hotel tax more than cover all that. And I foresee right now in the beginning, the hotel tax is going to cover the addition with the new addition that comes on until all these new parties, because most people, Frank probably knows better than anybody, when we're booking parties, they're a year out, 6 months out when they're booking parties out. So there's going to be a lag period when that's open and there's no business. So they're going to have, you know, a revenue source for that, which we're covering. So I think this is going to be a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you think that we've never had a chance, you know, at that pot, and now we do through those administrative services. I mean, that's huge. Okay, wait a minute, I'm trying to remember. Did you speak? Who was first?
I think I was.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
Rivers.
From this new arrangement, is there any way the county could lose money?
The simple answer is, it's incredibly unlikely.
They'd have to do no business.
Yeah.
They'd have to do nothing to offset the cost of the hotel tax.
Where the county would owe as opposed to profit, it would be a pretty close to a black swan event.
And I believe Mr. Riley has indicated in the past that the hot taxes have gone up even during the COVID period over the last 4 years or 5 years. Even during that time,
It's a lot of
the
money.
hot tax still went up. So the likelihood of that happening would be something absolutely catastrophic and wildly unlikely.
Yeah, to Mr. DeBose's point, like, we're talking collapse of the economy at that point. We exceeded these numbers during COVID, and now we're also adding the Airbnbs and all that. So the pool of seats is also going to be increased as well.
Mr. Commissioner.
I have a question as to how everybody is looking at bigger events coming. If I have an event going to the convention center now and it holds 5,000, and we have a facility over on State Street that's connected to it, how do you put the party for 10,000, let's say, into one area?
I think it's more for conventions where they need the breakout rooms. That's the big use because their current breakout rooms are not big enough, is my understanding.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right,
I'll make the motion.
okay, I got a motion from
Second.
Mr. Reedy. I got a second from Mr. Kamala. So those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Item 13 is tabled pending public hearing, and that is our last item.
All right. Motion to
This
adjourn.
son of a bitch.